Welcome to our latest instalment of Road to Cheltenham. It is good to be back. The voice is starting to get there. Hopefully, you enjoyed last week's instalment, talking about the big championship races with the guys on my left and my right. But I'm back to restore a little bit of order this week and look at the Novice Chase and Novice Hurdle division, because we had some stellar performances over the festive period. And to be fair, a lot of these are still very, very muddied, and certainly the curtain raiser Supreme Novices Hurdle. We are 8 weeks away today until that incredible roar is heard around Prestbury Park. Frankie, you mentioned 8 weeks today. How excited are you getting?
I can't wait. It feels like we are now. We're getting there. You can start to form an opinion. Some people have got bets down already. Markets are starting to take shape, like you said, more so in the championship races, actually, rather than the novice hurdlers and chases, which is probably unusual. We normally have a couple of Willie Mullins hot pots that everybody thinks is a good thing by now, don't we? And maybe that's the reason why, is because Willie Mullins doesn't have those usual favourites in lots of these races, which is making them a bit more open and probably meaning we're having to wait a little bit longer, probably for the DRF, until we get a strong opinion on some races. But having said all that, the likes of Segino, these novice chasers, we've got Ballyburn to talk about, or even the Jukebox Man who won on the same day. There's some real nice novice chasers to talk about, isn't there?
There certainly is. The novice chasers, certainly, Joel. The novice hurdle division is a little bit unclear, shall we say?
Yeah, very much unclear. I think we'll get a little bit more after the DRF, which looks again on paper, it's going to be very, very, very exciting. You sound like you've been doing the Cheltenham Roar for about 3 weeks, Matt. It's nice of you to join us. 2 things from last week. I got some love and some hate. The love was for the very obvious double figure double, State Man for the Champion Hurdle and Jerry Colon for the Gold Cup. Couldn't see them both out the 3 for that. But the other side, I didn't half get some abuse last week for saying that Galopin Des Champs does nothing for me. A couple of people were like, well, if it doesn't do something for you, maybe get a new sport. Yeah, good point. I mean, I was fishing a little bit because I know Frankie's a massive fan, but I did say on our Christmas show, whatever wins in Ireland at Christmas will win the Gold Cup. So I'm not got a problem with Galopin getting a 3rd Gold Cup after Best Mate and then Arkle, and but Jerry Colum can come 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th if you've got the enhanced odds.
I'm sure there's plenty more hate out there as well, but they probably kept it hidden last week. Right, let's look at the Novice Chasers division then, because all the Wow Boys and tongues were wagging after Segino's win at Kempton over Christmas. All right, he put Ballyburn in his place. He's probably a little bit better over further. It was great for Willie Mullins to come over and have a crack, but as chasing debuts go, Frankie, he certainly brought the wow factor.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much better, does it? And he lived up to his hype. He lived up to the market support. And that is actually partly what makes me have so much faith in him when looking at the festival. Obviously, just visually what he did was incredible. The way he jumped, the way that he travels. We know that he's a really exciting 2-miler beforehand over hurdles, and then he just got even better over bigger obstacles. The thing that put so much confidence in me is the way that everybody else talks about him, besides just Nico and Nicky Henderson. The way that Paul Townend talked about him, before the race, how's he going to beat him, he was kind of saying. And we hadn't even seen him over a fence. The way that other jockeys, other trainers have all said that on that day, that was one of the best performances they've seen from a novice chaser, just shows that it's a united decision that he'll be incredibly hard to beat. He didn't really put a foot wrong, did he? And you can kind of picture what he did around Kempton happening again at Cheltenham. And he's already won it at the track before over hurdles. You can almost just visualize him going ping, 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 setting a strong pace, coming there swinging and going and win. And it is really, really hard to take him on after that. It was such an exciting debut.
It certainly was. I know, Joel, were you impressed? But, you've got some good opposition. Margeborough did nothing wrong in his chasing debut as well. He's either value alternative. Ilan Atlantique's won over Christmas as well. We've still got Load of Sud, which we're probably going to see at Warwick in the next couple of weeks. So, there's some viable opposition there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious. And I think when we're looking at these, you have to be very obvious when the obvious is very obvious. Segino to probably beat Margeborough. Anything happens to Segino beforehand, it's all that if Constitution Hill comes out and then we go to the Champion Hurdle with Segino, then Margeborough is going to be 8-15 on the day or whatever, and you're getting 7-2. I really don't like Il Atlantique. I know Mullins has won the race last couple of years. Obviously, one of my favourites, Gaelic Warrior, El Fabiolo as well. Il Atlantique, I mean, to quote many people, it jumps like a fridge, doesn't it?
I thought he'd be up in trip, personally.
You are?
I was surprised to see him drop back in trip. I thought he would have been one for 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, but we know it's Willie Mullins bingo, so anything could happen. It's
if it's heavy, he's probably only going to go if it's heavy, isn't he, or very soft.
But the Sun Lounger horse, Loda Sud at 14s, I think is a really, really. I mean, there's no way on that performance of Sergino seeing Loda Sud beat Sergino. But again, anything happens at favourite. There's 8 weeks to go. It's a Henderson horse. But Loda Sud, I think, is hugely overpriced at 14s, and especially if an antique comes out as well. So, it could finish second or third.
Yeah, we're not going to see him this weekend. He was entered at Windsor, but it looks like they're going to rely on Caldwell Potter instead connection. So I know you're a big fan of Madgeborough, Frankie, though.
I am, yeah, and not that I've got any sort of value. I'd had him backed already, and I was really impressed with what he did. I mean, at the time I said it was the performance of the weekend, didn't I? And the way that he quickened was really impressive. And I was listening to Paul Townend say that Mark Walsh certainly wouldn't be one to go and win a beginner's chase by 10 lengths. So he kind of thinks he was almost just a passenger once he asked him to go and quicken, which adds a little bit to what we saw there. What was slightly disappointing, or what I was disappointed in, was Tully Hill getting beaten and Asian Master the weekend just gone, who obviously finished behind Madgeborough. And like, don't get me wrong, he quickened easily and won the race, but they were still in contention coming to the last. And I'd have liked to have seen one of them come out and put a decent performance in. Whether that's to the credit of Mr. Jiff, I don't know. And he could be one of your value plays at 25s, is he potentially? If you start to align the horses behind Madgeborough and then he's gone out and beat them, it's muddy waters in trying to find value. But that's my thought. I was disappointed we didn't see Tully Hill, Asian Master, be more dominant last weekend after being behind Madgeborough.
That's not, like I said, there's not done a lot for the form there, but I watched back the Drinmore yesterday with Croke Park and Hartwood and Firefox and Gorgeous Tom, who I put up, an extra stride in that Horsehill one. There's a length between all of those, and I know a lot of these won't go. Gorgeous Tom is 100 to 1, and Firefox is 25. I mean, Firefox, are we a little sad on Firefox? Did we think this was not exactly next coming, but thought Firefox was going to be a lot better than it's actually turned out? Or is he an absolute storming each way price at 25s?
He was comfortably beat, really, wasn't he, by Atlantic? I know it wasn't the best ground, but he's kind of faded in my books. One thing I will say, just talking about Madgeborough and comparing him to Sergino, obviously at the top of the market, I think Sergino, I'm not saying he'll have to, but I'd expect him to win. He's a classy horse, isn't he? He's a flashy horse. If there was a battle, I probably would rather be with Madgeborough, but I'm wondering if Sergino is just that good that he can win fairly easily anyway. But if you got in a proper tussle up the hill, I may take Madgeborough in a battle.
Well, let's move on to the 3 mile. Obviously, the 2.5 mile is gone, so it's probably the benefit of the Arkle and the Brown Advisory this year. Is this Willie Mullins' benefit, though? We look through the top of the betting: Ballyburn, Dancing City, Imperi Pass, Ilolonte, Lecky Watson, Champ Carney. There's 7 of the top 8, all coming from Clasutton. And then we've got the Jukebox Man, who's done absolutely nothing wrong of offences, slap bang in the middle of them at 5 to 1. Joel.
Yeah, ask Frankie. I've got a slow internet here. I'm just trying to get the prices up. I've got all my notes. I'm just trying to get prices up. Frankie, you take over. This internet's so slow!
Ballyburn 7 to 2 is interesting, isn't it? Because we'd be 95% sure that's where he's going to go. And at the start of the season, people weren't saying it's a matter of if he's going to win. It was just what race he's going to run in, and he will win. The fact that he has been beaten by Sergino has just, eased people's expectation of him. But his novice hurdle form is right up there. He's shown that he can jump. He probably showed in his beginner's chase that he wasn't a 2-miler. So it's interesting why they decided to do that. Maybe just to get a hold on Sergino and see what they really were up against. And then back up to 3, you would expect him to improve. So he is the right favourite. I wouldn't say it's a certainty by any means, though. I personally can't have the Jukebox Man. I reckon he should have gone further clear of Highland than he did, who was a handicapper last year and obviously has got a lot better this season and is good at Cheltenham, but I'd like to have seen him kick on a little bit more from him. I don't mind the Dancing City at all, but he made a good start over fences and is obviously a real tough stayer, as we saw over hurdles last year. But the one that gets my mention is Champ Kylie. He's back from a 600-day break, jumped really well, won quite nicely. And his old form, he finished third in what was then a Ballymore behind Gaelic Warrior and Impere Pass. I've been looking forward to him making a comeback, and I thought his comeback was more than acceptable. It was pleasing, and each way price, he's performed well around Cheltenham before. He looks like he likes fences. I'd give him a squeak if he goes.
Okay, careful. Joel, is the internet working again?
Yeah, we've got it up now. We're still on the dial-up here in Manchester. Yeah, it's dialing up. No, I thought Ballyburn 7-2, somewhere around that price, goes to the DRF and hacks up. Will be odds on. What price is that going to be? 6-4. So if you think Ballyburn's a good thing now, and as Frankie was saying, he's not thinking it. I think it's massive value at 7-2. And then looking down the market, Croke Park, I mentioned earlier on for Elliot, he's throwing Croke Park in there at 16s. And if handstands goes, one at the weekend for us.
He's not going.
But think right. So I've got a theory. I've got a theory on this, right? That handstands goes. I know that we're going to have Jukebox Man in there. So Ben Jones is probably, obviously going to ride t'other horse. But if Khalif de Burle doesn't go for Paul Nicholls and goes to Aintree, which is the rumour, Harry Cobden becomes available. And, around Cheltenham, one of the top 3 jocks in the country, I would have looked at handstands. Did it really well at the weekend. We both put him up, and just looking for a little bit of value. And remember, every year for the last 3 years, we said Ben Pauli's going to have a decent Cheltenham, and he's not exactly had a really poor one, but they're always big prices, aren't they? Handstands done nothing wrong, and of course we're looking, will they go? You're saying maybe wouldn't go and bombed in the is it Gallagher's last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was like 25-1 or something. They would put him up, but I thought Ballyburn was pretty solid, and I take a little bit on handstands even before the no runner no bet.
It was he said it would definitely go to Aintree.
He said Sandown. He said Sandown for the Silly Owls, and then to Aintree was his preferred route.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the point that Paul, because was it also Ben Pauling that said he'll let the big boys play at Cheltenham or something along those lines? Was that Ben Pauling? I think you make the point that we've said he's going to have a good festival, and he maybe hasn't. He might be getting sick of that, and you got these opportunities to get Grade 1 winners. Maybe time to look elsewhere if you feel like you know your place. You mentioned Croke Park. I know that we couldn't see 95% of the race because they're in the fog when he finished ahead of Better Days Ahead. I thought Better Days Ahead just had the wrong, or was a bit tight on the rail, and the horse didn't want to go past Croke Park until being switched out, and then almost caught him on the line. I reckon I'd reverse their form. But
so are you saying bad ride? Are you saying bad ride? A shocker. You said, just if it had just.
No, I don't think it was a shocker. I think there was probably a gap, but the horse maybe didn't want to go through it, and then got pulled to the other side, and then looked like he was going to go past. But hey, we got to see the run in. I didn't see the rest of the race, but
yeah. Well, that was a lot of the Christmas racing, a lot of it. I mean, it's so brilliant this year. I can't remember the last time it was that good, but it was just a shame that some of these big races, if you were there in Ireland and you could see nothing, nothing. If that was like some claiming maiden hurdle or something like that, you could have got away with any old jiggery pokery.
So there's joined in 2 out. Right, let's look at the opener then. It is Supermem Novices Hurdle. Obviously, we had Salvatore Monday winning the Moscow Flat the weekend, which has been a great pointer to this race down the years. Woody Money dominating it. What did you make of that performance on Sunday, Joel?
I thought, look, it was pretty decent, but I think everybody is getting a little bit excited. We talk about Sugino and how great this horse looked, and everybody was saying visually brilliant, jockeys, trainers, tipsters, whatever. Everybody's saying how great this horse is. Are we not just going and dining out on this 62-length win at Tipperary, and going, God, this is it must be the next coming. Is this the one that was less than 2 lengths behind Sugino at Auteuil in that listed hurdle? Yeah. I just don't know if we're, 20 years ago somebody scored the world's best goal in a Sunday League game and they're still dining out on it. I went on a date with Shakira 20 years ago and I'm still dining out on it 20 years later. I don't know if it's that, and I think it has to be taken on at 4-1. And with Romeo Coolio second at around 7s, we got it back on track, and after that shocker the time before, Frankie was all over at Romeo Coolio, and I don't know if I was getting back on board here.
I was quite pleased that people have got carried away with Salvatore Mundi, because he has shortened, and Romeo Coolio looks a backable price to me.
You've always been a massive fan of him, haven't you?
Yeah. Although he still could jump a little bit better. I just think he's got a lot of speed. The way that he quickened to go and win last time, despite jumping the last shockingly, I thought was really impressive. And Gordon Elliott said it's the quickest horse that he's got at home. If he can be a little bit tidier over his hurdles, I reckon he's got the engine and the speed for a Supreme, certainly. But yeah, look, I think Salvatore Mundi is just too short on hype. Romeo Coolio has won a Grade 1. He was second in the bumper last year. He's a top-class horse. Okay, he got beaten, but they said that they realised why and then changed things and then went and won quite convincingly. So to me, that just shows his ability even more. Salvatore Mundi, I think, well, my worry with him is it's not as if he's just come over from France and they haven't had him long and that was his first run. He's been at the yard 2 years. I know he hasn't raced much, but they must be trying to figure out at home how to get him jumping smoother. I don't know if it was Patrick Mullins or Paul Townend said it's better to have one with an engine that you can teach to jump than to have one that can jump without an engine. And he's obviously got the engine, but he's not brand new in the yard, is he? And they certainly know how to get horses ready to win when they're young. And you would have expected to see better, I think. And
Paul Townend had said that he didn't let him jump, did he? Because he's trying to restrain him at the end, at the back of the pack.
Yeah, I suppose it's going to split opinion, isn't it? Because some people will say, just look from the turn home to the finish, and he had 4 to pass. Paul Townend was a bit more animated than anyone else, and then when he got going, there obviously is a big engine there. Like, he's a bit of a tank, isn't he? But he's just messy.
What about? I've looked at this one last night, and everything would be there afterwards. The JP horse from Mullins. Halistoire, or Estoire, is that how you pronounce it? Was 3 lengths behind Salvatore Mundi. I watched that back again. It was hampered before the last, so could have got that down. I don't think there's a lot between them on ability. And one's 25 to 1, and one's a high horse at 4 to 1. Are we not looking past Willie Mullins, JP McManus, or am I being stupid here?
No, it's wide open.
Probably.
Now they've also got Kay Dorte, haven't they? I mean, it is interesting. We'll move on and talk about JP in a minute, because are we thinking he's not got a lot in the novice department? That's why he's brought out the checkbook all the late. But are we agreed this one's going to Ireland?
Yes.
Yeah,
we've got nothing.
It's
pretty poor, isn't it? I hate to moan, but like, there's normally a couple of horses you're getting really excited about for the Supreme, and there's not that, is there, at the moment?
And we're at that point. You keep saying 8 weeks out. It's not like something's going to come out the woodwork now, or just
there could be an obviously at the DRF. There could be some of the performance, but
in terms of the Brits, I mean, the best 2 mile trial for the Supreme, 2 mile. Yeah, trial for the Supreme is the Tolworth, or as was the Tolworth, the Formby now at Aintree, won by Potter's Charm, who's going for the Gallagher. So I think this is where this prize will stay at home, because in Potter's Charm and the New Lion, we seem to have 2 very talented unbeaten novices hurdles. I mentioned JP McManus getting the checkbook out. We don't know how many notes was at the end when he paid for the New Lion, but is that an indication of he doesn't think he's got much in the staying novice department, and that's why he's gone for this one and he's staying with the Skeltons, Frankie?
It's a good point you make. It is a very good point you make, because he has Kate Doughty, doesn't he?
Kate Doughty, yeah.
Yeah, who I like quite like the look of. But you do make a valid point. If he has some sort of a hold on the ability of Kate Doughty and then has decided, actually, I want to put £1 million or more into the New Lion, what does that say about Kate Doughty? It says that he's probably unsure if he's got the better of maybe Potter's Charm and a few others. And he will know when.
To the future, because obviously they've never hidden the regard they hold this New Lion in, have they?
No. Yes, it's trick on. Kate Doughty was 6 lengths behind Magbro over in France, and then the thing that I like about him stepped up in trip is that when he won last time, the last hurdle was omitted, and I quite like to see a horse that's either stepping up in trip, or you're looking at him for a 2.5 or 3 mile race, winning a race with one omitted, because they just have to, I feel like, just go a little bit deeper into the reserves, because the hurdle doesn't slow him down. And he looked quite tough, I thought. So off the back of that, I thought, you know what, he might be one for the 2.5 miler. But we say all that, the New Lion was pretty impressive, wasn't he? Just how much substance does that form have? Is the Regent Stroll any good? I'm not convinced. The horses at the front fell away in the second, just got there from a hold-up rider. He was honestly very impressive. I do worry, though. Maybe it's just because we're so used to seeing the Irish come over and beat us that I find it hard to back the New Lion or Potter's Charm. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm a big fan of Potter's Charm. Joel, he's done absolutely nothing wrong, and he's beaten everything that's put in front of him and convincingly, and he's done it at Cheltenham as well. I mean, surely he's a knocking each way play, isn't he?
Oh, totally. He is the each way steal, as we always say, is the account closer, isn't he? You can have your 50 each way on that, and then thanks very much for business reasons, we've closed your account. But, if we look at Salvatore Monday, and, is the living off the 62 length win at Tipperary, or we look at the New Lion, we've seen that, and it was wow. And you had on ITV Racing Dan Skelton and Paul Nicholls, and they were battling it out. And I backed Regent Stroll that day just because of what Nicholls had said about how good this horse was and was unbeaten, obviously. 7 lengths or 7.5 lengths back and forth. And the New Lion, I wish I'd listened to the podcast with Harry Skelton on before Christmas, because you know how many millions of horses the Skeltons have got, and he wants to look out for over the period, and he was always the New Lion, the New Lion, the New Lion. So I've seen it. He talks it up, and I'm all over the New Lion. But again, at this time, Potter's Charm is your each way. But New Lion, it's not even a really stupidly short price. If it starts 11 to 4, 3 to 1 on the day, you'd be loading up, wouldn't you?
I think it's a prize that could well stay with us. But then we'll move on to the staying Novice Hurdle, the Albert Bartlett, and I'll let you take the stand, Joel, because this, the way you've been talking, may sound to be one of your bets of the week.
Yeah, I think the Yellow Clay, simply because I've got a load of mates from Dublin who have said right from the start, the Yellow Clay.
That's a lie.
Yeah, you are?
That's a lie.
Yeah, when
not my friends.
Mates, we knew you was talking rubbish.
Yeah, they're paid contacts. All right, yeah. Won the first 2 bumpers at Limerick and Leopardstown. Was 4th in that Future Stars race. It was 40 to 1 that day. Behind Redemption Day, you ought to know. The horse that got injured that was favourite for the bumper, Jeroboam Machan.
Oh yeah.
And I just think genuinely, the last time out, it said soft, but it was heavy, and Jasmine Deveau didn't act on that ground, or was not attempting to actually have a race that day. He was 4th, 22 lengths back and forth that day. Super Sunday was back in second, which I rate. I would say personally, if the ground is like it was last year, I think this is probably nap or next best material for the Albert Bartlett. Obviously not ground dependent, but if it comes up Venetia Kerry Lee grounds, I think the Yellow Clay, just looking on that last performance, would just it looks, it's a young, but it's a dirty old stayer, isn't it? We'll just, you know what I mean? We'll just stay and stay and stay. And I really like the Yellow Clay. And what price are we this morning?
6 to 1, I think.
See, I thought it'd be short.
It's a fair bet, isn't it? It's a fair bet.
Yeah, fair bet, and again, it's not ground dependent, but I think I would be lumping on more if it came up a little bit. Bleh.
Frankie, I know we've kind of been like blinkered by Joel's love for the Yellow Clay. Is it rubbing off on you, or is there anything else in there? Obviously, JetBlue won over Track and Trip, and he's destined for it.
Yeah, he won nicely as well, didn't he? Probably not doesn't hold as much form claims as the maiden hurdles or grade 1s and 2s that happen over in Ireland ahead of the festival, but he did win nicely, and it is important to have a horse that's won at Cheltenham. Actually, might take a chance on one before the DRF. Sounds Victorious, who's 20 to 1 currently. He was 4th in the Champion Bumper last year. That obviously the Yellow Clay was 6th in. Fishery Lanes, another of William Mullins, will probably find out more about him at the Dublin Race Festival. Obviously, Romeo Coolio was 2nd, and Jasmine Deveau, who, was disappointed last time, was your winner. But he was 4th in that. He was 4th at Punchestown in the bumper there. 2 to 5 favourite, beaten in November on his seasonal debut this season. could you potentially excuse a bit of fitness and the yard form? If you can, then he won next time out at 4-11, and it wasn't flash, but that's almost what I like about him. These 3 mile novice hurdlers, they don't need to be flashy. They just need to be quite tough. He almost looks a little bit lazy when he races. Even if you go back to him coming fourth in the bumper, he was one of the first off the bridle, but then managed to finish fourth. I think he might just be one of those kind of sloggers. And if you're trying to find any sort of value, I would have him as maybe one to take a small little chance on before he runs in his next race. He's entered in the 2 mile 6 at the Dublin Racing Festival, as are about 6 others of Willie Mullins. But say he lines up, and if there's any sort of market support, or he looks like he's a contender, he might be one that you could just take a little swing at, and if he flops, he flops. But if not, you could be set on a nice price.
JetBlue, I mean, or JetBleu. One last time out in December at Cheltenham, didn't he? Another great ride for David Cotin and Jim Ruffley.
It went well.
Your mates in France saying about it.
Yeah, it is very good horse, but I believe JP McManus may be buying it because he's buying everything at a minute. Look, off the flat, he's won 3 times over hurdles, and he's only been beaten by one horse, which is called Ain't Got Wings. And that subsequently has been out and won since. Loads of ability. I think since James Reevely's gone abroad to France, I think he was always, and it's not honourable to him, he's sort of a mid-card sort of jockey. And since him and the gangster Felix de Giles have gone out there, those two lads are absolutely, quality, real quality. And because it's French, and because remember the days of Barracuda, Thierry Dumas and all this. I think if I'm having 2 bets in the race, which I will be doing, Yellow Clay and JetBlue, and I would be having a small exacta forecast on the day just to pump it up. But I really do like it.
Just before talk Triumph Third, you're talking French news this week about Elaine Francais will be going to Cheltenham. Which race would you go for with him, Joel? Because I know you're a big fan.
Aintree.
They're doing both.
Yeah. Probably Ryanair. To be fair, I just think after that heartbreaking performance that you've just mentioned again, that was a family holiday. I'd probably go Ryanair, and I wouldn't be heavily going in because I just don't know. I think Kempton is his track, and he might O's up, but I'd go Ryanair if I had to, but I'd be definitely backing the horse if it turns about Aintree.
Just want a quick touch on the Triumph Hurdle as well. Obviously, the favourite we've never seen in these shows, Lulamba, but it's another one for Henderson, the Donnelly Silks. Henderson's also got this Palladium, obviously from Germany, for a big price as well. What we did see over Christmas was Hello Neighbour winning in Ireland for Gavin Cromwell, who's also useful on the flat. Hopefully, we see East India Dock, maybe Trials Day next week. Any thoughts on the Triumph so far, Frankie?
It's kind of on the same page that I think East India Dock has set the standard so far. Having said that, Gavin Cromwell's Hello Neighbour, he's been quite bullish by his standards. He never says much at all, really, does he, Gavin Cromwell? It's hard work to get anything out of him.
Hey, hang on. Only in the steward's room.
But he said that Hello Neighbour will go to the DRF and then kick on to Cheltenham, and he thinks that Hello Neighbour is a Grade 1 horse and did put in quite a smart performance. So obviously is justified moving up in the market. I haven't gone mad and changed my opinion. I still think East India Dock sets a good standard. I like the fact that he's won at Cheltenham. I like the fact that he goes forward and that he's quick in the Triumph. You just can make some of these younger horses make mistakes, which I think is quite important. If you can set a strong pace, I think you can get a couple of the inexperienced younger horses in trouble. So I like his profile. I still like his profile. If you're not on Lulamba at 20s, then you definitely shouldn't be on at 4s, and you're probably not going to be on at 4 to 6 if he goes and pisses up at the weekend. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. There, I think now at 4 to 1, but I couldn't be backing it at 4s. And then outside of that, nothing much really. Same goes for Palladium. You're not going to back that. You haven't seen him. And Saint Lucie, I think, was maybe flattered by a potentially weak field. So all in all, East India Dock sets the standard. One may come out the field that we haven't seen yet, but you can't be backing a horse at 4s just based off of WhatsApp chats and Twitter, can you?
No. God no. Joel?
Yeah, so I lumped on. No, I really like Hello Neighbour in this. That debut flat win at Navan. He beat one of Aiden's that day. That's won since. Also beat one of the best named horses in training, one of Johnny Murtagh's, Cheeky Wink. I love that name of horse, Cheeky Wink. I beat that on the flat. And beat Lady Vega Alan, short head at Leopardstown on debut. All right, it was in the fog, but I really, really like Hello Neighbour for Cromwell, as just pretty much saying what Frankie said. Cromwell's all over it. He doesn't normally talk too much apart from why a horse improved in the steward's room. So, yeah, I'm pretty keen on Hello Neighbour.
No, that's right. I mean, obviously, East India Dock, we've seen it. It's track, it's trip. We've seen how good he was, and he absolutely battered him. Obviously, James Owen last year tried to get Burdett Road there and didn't quite manage it. So maybe a little bit of compensation awaits with East India Dock. Maybe because he's been impressive at the track, but we've got a few more clues. We've got the Spring Juvenile at DRF. We've also obviously got like the Adonis at Campton to come. We've got the big one on Trials Day. So there'll be more water under the bridge in terms of the Triumph as yet. Right. Next week, sharpen those pencils because we're going to start with the anti-post portfolio.
Oh, here we go.
Next week. Just a very quick one though, Frankie. How much are you looking forward to this new Berkshire Million this weekend? It should be plenty of clues. It should be brilliant.
Oh, it's cracking. And not that it's been much fun to have racing postponed and cancelled the last couple of weeks, but it means that you do get a couple more horses turn up all at one weekend. And it means that everyone's anticipating racing. So I expect big crowds will probably be turned out and there'll be plenty of eyes on because we're all missing that kind of top action, aren't we? It's a great weekend of racing. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to go to Ascot yet or whether I might. Probably the better option. Sounds bad, but sit at home and then you can watch all racing from everywhere. I'm quite looking forward
because on Friday we've got the Veterans Chase saved at St Market Raisin. We've got the Windsor races. You've got Haydock as well with a couple of trials thrown into the mix. So you're right, it's a real busy weekend, Joel.
Yeah, is Unexpected Party entered this weekend? Because I'm waiting for the break to come off that one.
He's in the Clarence House. Not sure.
No. I think it needs an MOT and maybe a full service. So it should be written
that mark down.
I'll tell you who is out because we're having a not bad success rate of these early shouts. Beat the Bat, who I put up last time at Ascot and then never ran, is your current 6-1 favourite for the 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. I think it could be a good thing.
Okay, there we go then. Well, join us on Friday for Punter's Guide. We'll look at all this fantastic race. We'll even look at Windsor's Sunday car because the cracking Fleur-de-Lis Chase as well to look at there. So join us for the Punter's Guide on Friday, and then we'll react to all of that on the road to Cheltenham again next week. And as I say, we will begin our anti-post portfolio. You have been warned.